Hello and welcome to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever. This is the final. We've reached the final of the Fall Invitational after a long series of casts and a long series of tournament play, a qualifier, group stage, playoffs, culminating in this final best of 7 between Nexus and Turbo2. So to get here in the playoffs, well, let's start with the group stage, shall we? In the group stage, Turbo actually Turbo was Turbo a qualifier? I think Turbo may have been a qualifier to this tournament, didn't get the invite to the Invitational. Nexus was invited. Turbo came top of his group, winning all sets. And Turbo dropped one map. He dropped one map to Arch in the group stage. Nexus dropped no maps, went out of a group which on top without dropping a map which had Esperanto and Thomas Hyatt in it, and Inspector Cott as well. And then the playoffs, Nexus went past Yudi in the quarters 3-0, went past Petrick in the semis 3-0. So 0 maps dropped so far by Nexus in this tournament as he reaches the final, with not an easy road to get here. Turbo, meanwhile, he in the playoffs took on Blinchik in a very close set, 3-2. And again in the semi-finals, won 3-2 versus Tagada. So very different playoff sets so far from these two guys. Nexus not dropping a map. Turbo dropping the maximum number of maps that he could in the playoffs, but making it through, which is very impressive to get through close sets like that. And here they are in the finals. Our first map in the best of 7 is Open Palms. And both have chosen Cybern. Not too surprising on such a map to go for Cybern at all. Definitely could be considered a home map for any true Cybern player. Differing build orders as well, so Nexus building a factory, 4 mexes, heading towards the hydrocarbon then. Meanwhile, Turbo staying in his spawn position and getting 2 factories and multiple power generators. Let's see how it works out. Nexus already has a second factory. Turbo is going for second air. Sorry, he's going third air. Second factory is up now. Third factory is up for Nexus. So this already looks pretty difficult for Turbo. I mean, look at how much faster Nexus gets his first 4 factories up. I mean, Turbo hasn't started his third air factory. Nexus has gone 4th air faster than Turbo. What is this? That's really insane. Turbo, whoa. Okay, that's a bit disappointing. The Turbo has made so much power, wasted so much power. You can see Nexus has 5 T1P gens. Turbo has 5 here alone, an additional 5 here, so that's the wrong hotkey. That's pretty criminal actually from Turbo. Not what we want to see in the final, in the first map. Turbo just builds twice as many pigeons as he needs. He's actually already started building more power. I'm sure he's overflowing already. And he's building more pigeons. Immediately, What this is going to result in is more tanks for Nexus, and this engineer are going to go down. This is a critical engineer heading to the top side. He goes down. An engineer has gotten past on the left now. There is a bodyguard. I don't really like this approach either, to be honest, but that bodyguard might come in handy soon. Nice inti fight for Turbo. I'll actually kill an inti basically for free. However, a bomber comes in from Nexus. Bombs one engineer, expanding with the commander. Bombs an engineer in the base. Actually hits a second engineer as well by the looks of it. Nexus maybe wasting some an inti there. This tank decides to hang around long enough to kill a mass extractor before heading towards the back base and trying to kill this engineer. Turbo attempting to clean up raids, but cleaning up raids on open palms can be a futile endeavor. No raids for Turbo. None. Look at all these engineers expanding for Nexus, and there are no threats. Let's see what Nexus sees. Sending scouts out. You can see everything that's coming. He's scouting this way for his bomber. This engineer now focused on engineers. This Mantis focused on engineers. Takes out the engineer in the back base. Not before 3 mexes go up, but there's more Mantis coming in to get more work done. This is another engineer going down. Where's the ACU? He's leaving. And this is the greed here. This is one of the greedy things that people will do, and because Nexus had a better start, he can afford to be greedy in this way with the ACU movement, not defend this expansion with his ACU. Turbo can't afford this. He's lost this expansion. There are now 8 Mantis invading and holding this position, and it's not going to be easy to take this back. And his ACU is going to walk towards this PD by the looks of it. Ooh, the PD looks like it may finish, in fact, before the commander arrives. Meanwhile, Nexus already across the map, gone to the 2 mexes, and is holding his ground there. Finally, a raid from Turbo arrives. Oh, imagine he gets reclaimed. Oh, he's getting reclaimed, but he survives and kills the engineer. May manage to kill a couple of mass extractors, we shall see. Nexus is now retreating his units, and Turbo did manage to get to this expansion before the PD was completed. How many more units? Take your guesses now. Oh my god, Nexus wasting mass. He just has so much that he can't even use it. 40 Mantis. How many do we think he has? 20 even? 33 to 46. And this ACU... oh god. This looks like it's going to be a quick one, my friends. A quick 1-0 on the cards. Jester coming to try and help Turbo out. He does not have overcharge. Even with all that that power, maybe with overcharge he could have possibly survived. Actually, it's likely he may have survived with overcharge. He would have hit a veterancy, but he would have lost a lot of HP. Turbo with the close one in the chat. He literally just made, you know, about twice as many pigeons as he needed to in the opening, and well, that's not what you want to see in the final of a tournament. But Nexus as consistent as ever. Nice build, nice damage, good use of his units, and turn this one into a fast crush. That's not going to help Turbo's confidence going into game number 2. Let's head over to that map now. Alright, here we are in map 2 of the best of 7 final between Nexus and Turbo, and that first map, that's one to forget for Turbo. Definitely one to forget. And we have another mirror, and both players choosing Seraphim on Bermuda Locket. I do think Seraphim is a good faction here for sure. I like the T2 land is what sort of tips it for me in favor of Seraphim. Not sure what reasons these two guys have in mind for it, but I definitely do like the T2 land options. The Zooies, of course, are always good on virtually every map, and they have good navy as well, so all of that together gives us a pretty good faction for Bermuda. And yeah, let's take a look here. 65,000 ish reclaim. Well, more than that, but that's the lowest end of the estimate. Nexus already, well, actually Turbo slightly ahead in power. He has more assistance at this moment. Trick for Turbo will be to actually maintain his mass income. He needs, I think, to send a second engineer reclaiming. Otherwise it might be a bit tricky. See, the mass is dropping rapidly, has not constructed the 2 other base mexes. Nexus, meanwhile, not assisting so heavily, doing a bit more expanding. Yeah, you can see Turbo walking around here. That leads to a stall, a momentary stall, and now a second engineer is dispatched, and he may be just in time. Just in time. So Turbo working with very fine margins. Nexus, meanwhile, not so fine margins, and a bit safer, a bit easier to execute there. Turbo with a couple of stalls. Ends up with a faster transport, a very fast transport, I gotta say. This is extremely fast. Nexus won't be too far behind though. You can see he's about... it's actually less than 10 seconds slower. So overall, very similar builds here. And Nexus actually leaves first just by virtue of his units getting onto that transport more efficiently, being in a better position to get on board. Turbo had all his units here. They have to kind of bump past P-Gens and the commander to get to the transport. We shall now exit split screen. And let's see, so both players doing the normal thing. Everyone does this nowadays. It used to be, feel like it used to be a bit more dynamic. You would sometimes see people drop the same side, but nowadays nobody is doing that. You do occasionally have labs move in to try and stop the drops and things like that. Unfortunately, no labs for Seraphim players, so except a crappy Selene lab. Nexus with a factory, Turbo with a factory in his expansion. You can see Nexus faster to his main expansion down here, getting a factory up quickly. Very important to get factories up really quickly in these expansions to get all of the reclaim that's in this area. Huge amount of reclaim here. And this is really important. Also, we're going to see a lot of engineers spamming power right now. Second air factory. Oh, don't think he can really... Seems very early for a second air factory. Nexus with a really nice balance here. On this map, you know, wasting some power like that, it's never going to last long. that sort of power waste. It's always good to have more power basically than your opponent, which is the situation Nexus is in. If we go to Turbo, it seems like he is actually too slow on the reclaim right now. Only now getting reclaim in this expansion, getting some here as well, so he may catch up, but I think he's quite behind on reclaim. Yeah, he is. 4,100, 3,000 for Turbo. I mean, that's a huge difference and quite surprising. Nexus with a drop. I do like this drop. 3 engineers to the arm in between his opponent's main base and main expansion. Well, I've called this the main expansion. Let's say the further expansion. See, we don't have names for these things. So clearly we're not esports ready here in Subcom. Need to have all kinds of jargon invented, I think, for us casters. Couple air factories, T2 air coming fast for Nexus. Already 3 naval factories versus 2.5. There's some trends here. Factory up and a tank comes out. Turbo hasn't even reacted actually to the fact that there's units here. Now gonna have to make some units from his base and maybe also from this expansion to deal with that. It's very annoying. Delays reclaim. If you think about these factories, the more engineers they're making, the more mass that Turbo's going to gain. Also, he would rather send his tanks forward. This is going to delay him a lot. Delays all these mexes. Nexus also stealing this mass here. Stealing a little bit of reclaim perhaps as well. But mainly stealing the mass from building these mass extractors. Oh, getting some engineer kills on reclaiming engineers. This is all just a bonus. Huge bonus for Nexus. And you can see all it cost was just the use of a transport. Now, would I like to see him once again use the transport when he came back and drop here? Or maybe even further up. Drop up to this position, get a PD, and then Max's factories reclaim. But already this drop is huge. And Turbo also being quite idle. It looks like Turbo did drop to this position, judging by the fact that there's an entire base here, a factory, mexes, and a PD. It's unlikely that he walked there and built all that in that time. But needs some tanks. He has so many Zuis, and they're just dying to Thams. Finally, the Zuis fight back, but yeah, some Thams would be nice. Full Zui at minute, you know, well, we're 8 minutes in, but at this point is not serving him too well in that position. 6 factories up now. T2 air must be finished as well. T2 pigeon is actually almost finished. A drop, a Zui drop. 8 Phobos heading towards the base. This gets cleaned up, but you can see the number of tanks invested. And from the main base, from the expansion, T2 gen again, a bit behind Nexus. Nexus is just he's just ahead. I'm wondering if these units were dropped. I don't think they were. I think they may have run through, judging by some dead units here. The fact that PD has kills gives it away a little bit as well. Both commanders in similar positions. So many Zuis. Where's the drop? Okay, interesting location. This position right here can be really annoying when dropped, because you can fire over these cliffs, over those little hills, and onto the mexes and P-gens down here. Turbo wants to land right on top of the T2 P-gens with those Zuis and hopefully kill both of them. Looks like this drop will land. I don't think there's any radar in the base. there isn't, except from these air scouts. Nexus with quite a bit of mass in the bank, that would tell me that you really need to... Well, you don't need to tell him twice. He's upgrading a lot of mexes right now. The drop is coming in. He's going to drop... Oh, that's a great position to drop. Engineers are moving in to start reclaiming the Zooies. Oh, a PD up already. Such a quick reaction from Nexus. Look at how well he defends this. He will still lose a P-gen most likely. The Zooies shoot their fadeaways. Oh, he kills a lot of engineers as well. So still, definitely a very good drop. The transport did get killed and reclaimed instantly. But yeah, if we look at the economy now, you can see Turbo has paused every single mex. And that probably means... yeah, he's overbuilding power again. Building a third T2 Pigeon when he's already overflowing. Oh my god, he's overflowing so much power. He has 1,000 more power income than Nexus. I mean, part of that is because Nexus just lost a Pigeon, but I mean, Nexus is still managing not to stall. That's... oh, okay, now it's quite a bad stall. But yeah, Turbo just wasting so much power. T2 air transport comes in, loaded with THAMs, 16 THAMs on board. Gonna land in this expansion. And kill a few mexes. It's actually one upgraded mex here. F says Turbo. He doesn't look happy. I'm not sure what. He also still has all of his mexes paused, so he has, well, he has actually 5 T2 mexes. Not sure what his comment was about, actually. Clearly he did not, well, he did lose this T2 transport to frigates, which is pretty funny. T2 Navy is finished, but later the Nexus. Nexus now, it's a destroyer 3/4 of the way completed as Turbo hits T2 Navy. So Nexus also seems to have a greater number of frigates. I think it's the exact wrong time to move in with those, most likely. Needs to wait for the destroyer to come forward and start attacking those frigates from range. Constant skirmish in this position. Nexus with a lot of units. Generally it's the player who drops this side who puts pressure on this arm, but Nexus is completely holding all the way up to this choke point and is threatening to even push through. Now this drop did huge damage. Tham just goes down there. They did manage to kill this T2 mex, but they did kill this T2 mex and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other T1 mass extractors. T2 bombers coming in, and a drop from a T2 transport into the expansion where there are upgrading mexes and upgraded mexes. This one that's upgrading is going to go down. The Natas come in after the T2 pigeons. It must be. And they all attack the... well, one of them didn't seem to drop, actually. One T2 pigeon goes down. There are 2 more to be killed. I don't know how many more drops these Natas are going to get. Oh, he drops onto the Inties there. Bombs the Inties, and this actually saves this pigeon. As the Nata bomb hits the Inties instead of that. Okay, that's 1 upgrading mex, 2 upgraded, sorry, 3 upgraded mexes go down, and these Zooies actually may be able to take out another mex if they're microed. Looks like they will just go down at this point, but that was an excellent drop. 2 destroyers out for Turbo, and now this micro is essential. You can see he's trying to get forward and focus down the enemy destroyer. Now, because you can't dodge Seraphim shots, Seraphim destroyer shots as their lasers, it's all about the focus fire, really. That's what the micro is about. Oh, it's also about not allowing your destroyers to run away because they're on attack move. Does manage to avoid that. Nexus has 2 destroyers of his own. And Nexus also sending Zoos in to bolster his navy. Doesn't look to be any T2 land, as it is a well, T2 land is not so good versus Seraphim Navy, basically. Again, because of the lack of dodging and missing. Seraphim destroyers are fantastic against hover for that reason. Turbo focusing down. A 3rd destroyer arrives in the fray, and this destroyer is very low for Nexus. Needs to perhaps get underwater. He's trying to run away, and he has actually escaped there. So 1 destroyer survives just barely. A push on the top side from Turbo. Turbo looking weak on this side though. Not many units for him, but it's all about the naval battle right now. As Nexus is pushing in, he just believes that he has more frigates, more damage, and he just wants to run on top of the enemy. Takes out a destroyer, still has his 4 destroyers in the fight. Whereas Turbo is down to 3, his frigates are fighting it out, running back and forth, trying to dodge Zooey shots. You can see, because they're bumping so much, the Zooeys are actually doing quite a decent job. And Turbo has no frigates left. Look at this battle that just took place. There's 5,000 mass in the field. Sorry, well, let me zoom in a little bit. We're at 5k, over 5k. And there's no frigates left. Now torpedo bombers come in, put down a lot of fire on the destroyers, and Nexus pushes in to complete the rout. He's going to lose 1 destroyer. You can see how he's retreating it so quickly though. He may actually save it if he goes underwater. Wow, he keeps another destroyer alive. See 2 destroyers which are on 200 HP. The frigates run in and start doing a lot of damage to the destroyers. You hate to see enemy frigates in range of your destroyers. You never want to see it. No matter what kind of destroyers you have. Oh, drop into this expansion. Zooey's doing a lot of damage. All the mechs is going to go down. The PD not going to finish either, most likely. As the Thams are in there as well, not just Zooey's. 42 mechs go down. A 5th one is definitely on the way as well. Now we have 5 destroyers for Nexus versus 3, and actually, okay, 1 goes down for Nexus, 1 goes down for Turbo. Nexus hiding the low HP one now. And this looks terrible. Turbo losing the naval fight, losing the air fight above the naval fight, losing so many mexes on this side as well. Here goes another mex. 2 more go down here. And this is absolutely brutal for Turbo. Turbo now with T2 and the gun, and he's in the water. I don't understand what that is about. He's also been broken in this position. T2 units heading toward T1 units heading towards his base. He calls GG at that point. Nexus not even sending engineers to the naval reclaim. Too busy crushing everywhere else. And that game really fell apart in the last few minutes there for Turbo. Nexus just managing to do damage everywhere. Crushing on this side, damage on this side, a great drop into this expansion. And I'm not sure where those Zooeys came from. I guess they came from this base, most likely. But yeah, and then on top of that, the most important thing was the naval domination. You can see huge damage on this guy and this one, both with veterancy. And Turbo with no navy at the end except for 1 destroyer. This one which just died. And that's a 2-0 for Nexus. 4 map wins required to become the champion in the Fall Invitational. It's a best of 7, so let's move on to map number 3 and see if Turbo can start to mount a comeback. Here we are on map number 3. Between Turbo and Nexus in the final of the Fall Invitational. Nexus leads 2-0. Turbo has his work cut out. Turbo's gone for Seraphim once again, clearly favoring Seraphim for reasons unknown to me. Maybe he can explain his faction choice, because he's chosen a lot of Seraphim throughout this tournament, I've noticed. Nexus going with Cybran, his favored faction in 1 versus 1. I might be inclined to choose UEF on this map, honestly, but here we are. Nice that everyone's got a different opinion faction-wise here, and nice that we don't have a mirror. Some people are not too fond of them. So let's see. ZD Rasty Light is the map, 10x10. Haven't seen it too much in this tournament that I can recall, actually. Nor have we seen too much Bermuda, have we? But then this is the longest series, potentially, in the tournament, being a best of 7. The rest are, you know, best of 3 and best of 5. Let's look at the openings. And this is reminiscent of the differences we saw on Open Palms, where Turbo wants to stand still with his commander, wants to build multiple factories with his commander. Nexus wants to instead just head to the hydrocarbon and centralize all his build power in one location, focus on a single project at a time. And before, I used to do what Turbo is doing. I mean, on certain maps, I think what Turbo is doing is good, but in general, I think if the option is open, what Nexus is doing is probably at least, well, it's certainly at least as efficient, probably more efficient, I would say, but also it's easier on your brain to just deal with everything happening, every project being done one at a time. It's simpler to balance, simpler to time things, and I would definitely say people should take Nexus's approach generally on maps like this. Turbo's approach is fine, it's doable because of reclaim and things. Without reclaim, you actually don't have the option of doing what Turbo does, as you won't have enough mass to not have the ACU walk a little bit. But if we look at the opening, Turbo's actually gone for 2 air factories. He has a single land factory only now. Nexus has 4 land factories and an air factory. Now, which would you rather have? 1 extra air factory or 3 extra land factories? It's not really a difficult question, to be honest, on a map like this, and on most maps, I would say. I always press the wrong key there. Bomber comes out from Turbo, unsurprisingly, given he's gone for a double air factory early on. Now has got 2 extra land factories up now. Nexus, though, Nexus also not moving with his commander. He's being quite slow to move with his commander, instantly building an anti-air tower. Bomber is spotted by the scout over here, but I don't think there's any inti out that can actually do anything about it at the moment. 1 inti comes out and actually kills the enemy inti. Air turret does a bit of damage. Nexus runs out of mass and so kind of stops building for a moment. More reclaim begins to come in again, and we get another land factory. You can see it's just a very neat setup. You can see once again he can put all of his build power right here and build factories without moving. very efficient. I wonder how fast he'll go for T2 land. Another bomber. Is this a different bomber? This might be actually the same bomber from Turbo. Takes out that expanding engineer. It is actually a different bomber. Here's another one. I think this engineer is doomed. Never mind. Not sure what that bomber is doing. Meanwhile, in terms of the land, Nexus is trying to get a raid in behind here. He gets caught out here. Then takes some bad trades. Turbo catches him, and this opening actually looks okay for Turbo, considering, I mean, okay, he's just actually lost 2 bombers there. He lost both the bombers, and these engineers at the back getting reclaim did not go down. I'm wondering if the bombers managed to get any more kills, and I don't really see any major damage done by those bombers, so limited. Maybe there's more that could have happened there for Turbo's air. This looks like a potentially dangerous raid by Nexus, again attacking one of the weakest points on the map for the top player, which is this channel here. You really want to avoid, you hate to be sending tanks in this direction. Oh, T2 mechs already for Turbo. Ambitious. I like the idea there. It seems like he is actually maintaining his control somewhat. Oh, trying to get a PD up. He needs to get this up, but it's only 50% completed. I don't think it's going to happen for him. He is sending in tanks to try and defend here. I think this engineer and PD, well, the engineer will go down, the PD will not finish, but if he can clean this up quickly and get another engineer out, maybe he can finish the PD in time. That's a lot of Mantis pouring out of the base, heading towards the left side. And that bomber, it's a lot of damage done, in fact. Some nice kills by him. ACU turned around to get some kills, but has not restarted construction of the factory. Nexus then ahead in terms of his expansion here and the safety of his expansion. Gets a factory out. He's going to get an engineer over here to start building the hydro with some help. And the T1 land is overrunning the Thams. The Mantis not stopping. Turbo taking his plateaus a bit faster, also dropping to the right side to expand more quickly. Another kill for this bomber over here on an engineer denying a PD, but the Mantis are overwhelming. And Turbo is actually invested in a second T2 mech. He's almost completed it, and this is clearly why he is under so much pressure in terms of T1 land. Just Mantis everywhere. 68 Mantis there versus 41, so huge difference in numbers. Turbo trying to maintain air control. Could probably go after this transport. There are so many Mantis heading towards that ACU. The ACU I think is beginning to run. Well, he's running to the left to try and catch the Mantis. Does he understand how many there are? That's a scary prospect there. And Nexus has a scout here, so if Nexus sees how few there are, this is enough. This is enough units to kill that commander. There are no units in support, and there will not be. There's only one factory in this whole side of the map. Nexus can go for the kill here. I'm sure he can go for the kill. And if he doesn't get the kill, he will at least do huge damage to the ACU. But he chooses not to. Instead, he will split his Mantis up and try and kill absolutely everything on that side of the map instead. And simply, you know, take the advantage there, not risk his units, instead just take the very safe route of killing everything. All the engineers are dead now, the factory will go down, all the mass extractors will go down, even this position can be killed, at least this mech can be killed. And, you know, a couple of Medusa arrive and then the whole thing will be clean. But But Turbo has nothing here, and he actually can't really stand here and build because, well, even if he does, he's going to be so far behind in terms of expansion. You can see what Nexus is doing, taking a lot of the reclaim here already, getting a lot of factories up, getting a lot of engineers, and taking all the mexes. Well, that's PD is something at least. Can't finish the third wall or the fourth. So the PD is way more vulnerable than it generally would be. But still, it's worth, it's definitely worth something. Turbo is suffering so much on the top side, just through a lack of units and maybe a delay in constructing his factories, a delay in expansion. And this hurts so much. It's so difficult to even get this back. He's now using all of his inties to provide him vision so he can actually see what's happening here, and he sees a lot of mantis. And he can't get to the far side. He actually now has 3 T2 mexes. He has T2 land as well. He's making another mex. He's playing survival mode versus Nexus, who has T2 land as well. Next, I'm sure will make some support factories. He's making multiple T2 mexes right now. Has one completed. So Nexus is trying to catch up in terms of T2 mexes, but of course he's already ahead in terms of generated mass based on his far superior map control. Well, that's a nice raid, in fact. Things like this is what Turbo desperately needs. The bomber's coming very late to clean this up. I feel like bombers could have been employed a long time ago to clean up some of these mantis. On the left side, it looks very scary for Turbo. He's going to finally get a T2 unit out. One ill sheet. But look at the control here. I mean, Nexus probably didn't need to lose this position. He has a lot of units in his base. But this pressure here, imagine forcing Ilsheva to run all the way to the left side of the map to defend. And he really has to defend here because he has invested in a T2 mech in that position. So can't afford to let that go down to Mantis. It might be one reason why this is a slightly less vulnerable mech than the one over here, or a mech over here in this expansion. Might seem funny to say that this should be less exposed because Turbo did already lose every mech on this side of the map, but in general it should be a little bit safer than over here, depending on what's happening on this side of the map. It's quite interesting that Turbo has actually managed to hold on to this, that Nexus hasn't attempted to really clean this up completely. But now it looks like Nexus will finally turn his attention to it. He needs to, well, he's actually going to just run on top of the PD with his Mantis army and kill it pretty convincingly. Something he maybe could have done a long time ago. But he's done it now. Now there's a dumb Ilsheva over here, far away from any battles. The ACU for Turbo with no upgrades. A little bit of a raid, but there's a factory right next to this position, and all the Thams go down that moved in here. Now Nexus with the bit of a shift G to get higher concentration of damage from his units. The Ilsheva are going to do great if they avoid this very annoying hill. We just saw Medusa kill some reclaim. Looking great for Nexus once again. Where is T2 units though? Oh, the expansion. The units running past the commander, who is standing idly by. Actually, the commander wants to stay close to the water. He's a bit scared for his life, but if he's scared for his life, he ought to be more scared for his expansion, because the Mongoose, sorry, not Mongoose, Hoplite is here. It actually survived the PD, and this expansion is going to go down. This side also going down. The Medusa take out the PD. And it seems like at a certain point in these games, the dam breaks and Nexus takes any advantage that he had earlier, cashes it in all at once, and just pressurizes everywhere and seems to break through everywhere at the same time. He's just constantly building the pressure, and then something snaps and Turbo can't hold on anymore. And Nexus always knows that there's a limit to how long he can hold on, so just stays patient, waits for the right moment to run over his opponent. Now T2 air for Nexus. Ilshavos, I believe, are being targeted by those Corsairs. Turbo coming in. I don't know if he can win air here. This is a very annoying place to fight air with this stupid hill. You can see how the planes react. They basically have to try and maintain a certain altitude, so when there's a big change in the ground level, the planes will fly almost directly upwards or crash into the mountain, which can really mess with air fights. But yeah, look, once again we look over here and this position is barren. Turbo now making T2. Nexus is in the water. Please make stealth. So often Cybern players will walk into the water to hide and not make stealth. I think Nexus will make stealth. Right? Maybe not. I never understand it. It's the greatest upgrade in these positions. And it's cheap. But people will not make it. But anyway. That's an air fight that Turbo ought to win. He's got a flak in there, for Christ's sake. Corsairs flying around, not sure why they're involved, but actually Turbo is losing this fight by the looks of it. His flak is dead to the hoplites. Hoplites, pretty good unit versus Ilshavo. And Corsair is pretty good against Ilshavo as well, it's gotta be said. Medusa, pretty good as well. Yeah. Goodbye, my friend. And Turbo is absolutely doomed. He's lost air, he's lost his main expansion. His commander at least has an upgrade, but he's in no way threatening Nexus commander. And this looks like a 3-0. This looks like for sure a 3-0 as Nexus heads for T3 land. He's 90% of the way there. Turbo does not have that in his head at all, as he has little more than half the income of his opponent. Oh, the AoE, the stun. Dropped units are very vulnerable by the nature of their close proximity. That's why being alert when your drops are landing is really important, lest you lose them all to bombers. Medusa, hoplites, or any other unit with an area of effect. Two Ilshavo dispatched to attempt to take back the expansion. That's gonna be a difficult task for them. Now we have loyalists. Already two of them on the field. A third just comes out now. And what can Turbo realistically do? Well, he can chat, I guess. That's what he's wondering where Nexus T3 mechs is. A very valid question. He's invested a lot in T2 mechs and then a lot into units, but no T3 mechs. Maybe he'll be encouraged now to make one, but Turbo instead calls the GG, and that's a painful loss again for Turbo. Nexus is just a beast. Turbo at no point seems to have a chance in these games. At no point do we say this is, you know, by the time it's, 7 to 8 minutes in, Nexus has a clear advantage, or well, in the case of Open Pans, he's won the game already. So insanely impressive from Nexus. Just swatting Turbo away. It's 3-0. Nexus needs one more game to take the final 4-0 and go the entire tournament without losing a single map. So let's move to map number 4 and see if he can achieve it. And see if Turbo can give us something to cheer for. Here we are on map number 4. Nexus versus Turbo. And this is Turbo fighting for his life. He is 3-0 down at this point, and it hasn't looked close even in any of these previous 3 games. Now we're on Crag Dunes, yet another Seraphim pick, and this time Nexus goes along with it. We saw Nexus play Crag Dunes, I believe, versus Petrick. I think, and you may know how that went. Now let's see. I'm quite interested to see what the build will be for Nexus, because what we've seen from Nexus build-wise is that he does have very good builds, but he keeps it really simple. They're not complex. He makes it as simple as possible for himself by just centralizing his build power. So the first engineer comes out, we get a mech, we get the reclaim. There is a lot of reclaim on this map. Oh, we actually can't see the these are T2 Rex though, these are pillars. You can see them up here. I believe they're pillars. There may also be the Yenzines in here. But yeah, you can see he's already assisting his commander, so he's really making use of the reclaim, is Nexus. Immediately heads for that with the initial engineer, and the next engineers that come out are putting that mass into factories immediately with the help of the commander. And he's gone for a very quick second air factory. Turbo, you can see, by contrast, spreading engineers around. One engineer here building a hydro by himself just for now. Another engineer expanding this way. He's built the mechs much faster. And his ACU is alone, building alone. So by the time he's going to start building his air factory in a few seconds, this bomber is now 3/4 of the way done by the time the air factory begins. And Nexus is actually, well, he queues up an extra P-gen, you can see. And then we'll move to his third factory, and here comes the bomber. Oh, he's accidentally given an assist order there. But now gets the scout plane. Turbo's also gone for a bomber. But you can see way later, and now I'm recalling what happened against Petrick, and we've just seen a mirror of that. Oh my, well, because actually a wreck was formed there, there was almost nothing lost by the air factory, but that's huge damage. 3 engineers go down. The bomber will finish for Turbo. He loses 4 engineers now. And the anti-air that's being built also took, I think, 2 bomb hits. And where's this bomber headed now? Oh, he's gonna get taken out by the anti-air, surely. He doesn't. He's gonna get another kill, perhaps. The bomber from Turbo has no orders. Turbo actually was busy dodging with this engineer. Look at all the dodges here. That's some slow dodging. So guess what? Turbo just, well, looks like Nexus targeted inties there, or P-gens. I can't say the right words anymore, as I'm trying to cover both sides of the map. But anti-air from Nexus kills the bomber all on its own. 105 mass killed. In the base, Turbo has 2 factories. At minute 4, 2 factories. Nexus has 5 factories, and 2 half completed as well. Also has his hydro. He's taking mass in the middle, and the score shows a huge difference. The total mass shows a major difference as well. This bomber actually missed, or did not succeed in dropping. And again, I mean, this is so, there's nothing complicated about what Nexus even did there, really. First engineer reclaims and gets the 1 mex. Next engineer assists the ACU, and he just goes for maybe, what, 6 P-gens, I believe. Second air bomber. Delays his mass extractors a little bit because he's getting all the reclaim and abusing it to get that fast bomber, but then he just, maybe the trickiest part is just microing his bomber correctly. And now he's in a completely dominant position. Look at the raids going on here. Already massive damage being taken by Turbo. Turbo losing both his mobile anti-airs here to a Tham. And Celine, his hydro is being slowly killed by a Celine in the back of the base. Another bomber from Nexus. 2 inties from Turbo. You hate to see that. Turbo also still in his base because he couldn't afford to replace those engineers. He needs the tanks. You can see he's lost engineers. He can't hold on to his side of the map at the moment. He can't get to middle. Nexus is taking all the mass on this side. He's going to get a radar in middle to show him the entire map, and then Nexus can even come over here and start stealing the other middle mass, which is very significant. Turbo also hasn't even taken this mass here. He hasn't gotten there. Even if he had taken it, but at this point he would have not been able to spend it without engineers in his base to do that. Nexus also with his commander well forward, as he had plenty of engineers in his base to spend everything that he needed to spend. Turbo with air control, but what good will that do you? It's really, you can see just the power of the bomber is really based on the timing of when it comes out. A bomber now could never, 3 bombers now could never do the damage that the initial bomber from Nexus did to Turbo's economy in game. Nexus, at this point, he is so far ahead that he can just leave with his commander. He's running into the base now with a huge army of Thams. And he's going to crush. He's going to run to the back, kill all the power here. He's actually running on top of the commander. Turbo is making what seems to be some, I don't even know what upgrade that is. It's is that teleport? He's literally making teleport. That's a sign of a man that has given up all hope. And he's swept 4-0 in the most brutal fashion I've ever seen in a game of this nature. I mean, this was easy for Nexus. This whole tournament was easy for Nexus. 3-0's Yudi, 3-0's Petrick, 4-0's Turbo in record time. I mean, 2 of these games were under 10 minutes. This one under 8 minutes. The Open Palms was a very similar time. Maybe 8 minutes something. The other two games, I don't believe we even went over 20 minutes. And one of them was on a 20 by 20 map, so just an excellent performance by Nexus. And there's not much more to say. Thank you to Swackle for hosting the tournament and being the main sponsor. Check out some of his coverage on Twitch. His Twitch channel is some_Swackle, SWKOLL. Check the forums for a list of some of the other sponsors. We had, I think there's maybe 5 or 6 sponsors in total. And Nexus comes away with some cash. Let's quickly double check how much Nexus won here. He took, well, the prize pool in total $365, $150 to Nexus, 75 to Turbo, and probably his best. This must be his best finish in a tournament with this much competition in it. So well done to Turbo on getting to the final. Third place goes to Tagada, he gets 50. Petrig with 30 and fourth, and the 5th to 8th get $15. That's Torin, Archsimcat, Esperanto, and Blinchik. So the 5th to 8th, quite an interesting group of players there in the 5th to 8th. But goddamn, so easy for Nexus, ridiculous. Also, let's note the sponsors. Swackle with 175, anonymous $100 donation there. Advade Hazabnis with 30, Paralon donated 25, Voldemort with 20, and Reese NZ $15. Thank you to everyone who participated, who streamed the games, and all the players, and especially Swackle for hosting. The end of your tournament is approaching fast. At the point I'm recording this, there's already been the first qualifier. I will be covering some games from the qualifier, and there'll be many other casters covering games as well. So I hope you'll watch all of us as we do our best to provide the maximum coverage for the great FAF gameplay that's coming, because, well, it's kind of tough doing it all on your own. I gotta say, I have now covered every match of the playoffs, at least. The group stage, there's no way I covered all of those. We covered some important games, but the playoffs total coverage, that's what I want to see from tournaments. That's what they deserve. And especially when people are putting money for it and people are training and practicing and devoting their time to it. So hopefully we're going to make this end of year tournament, the Legend of the Stars end of year tournament 2020, the best possible and the best yet. So stay tuned for coverage, and hopefully I can get back to streaming. I have moved and I have some internet difficulties at the moment that have to be resolved. That's why there's no streams, but I'll try and get back to it as soon as technicalities allow me to. So that's enough end of video waffling. Click all the links and things, and I'll see you all next time, guys.